You asked for it. Here it is. It's a podcast from Apathetic Enthusiasm.
In this episode, we're going from the east to the west side to the Gotham side. Who knows? It's Apathetic Enthusiasm.
That's right, Apathetic Enthusiasm, starring your two favorite hosts, Brandon and Travis, where we talk to you about things that are coming across our minds. If our minds was a news desk, and the news desk was pushing the news across it, and then we as newscasters were broadcasting it out to the world using language, the spoken language, and also a little bit of music. Yeah, here we go.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Welcome to the show. I'm Brandon.
I'm Travis. This episode brought to you by Ovaltine. Thank you for listening.
Ovaltine, the rich chocolatey taste of Ovaltine.
That's right.
There's
Little Orphan Annie always drinks her Ovaltine. Oh, wait. Brandon wouldn't get this reference. And
because I've never seen Annie. Is that why?
A Christmas Story.
Oh. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. So there we go. Anyway, this is Apathetic Enthusiasm. We talk about whatever we want. If you want to follow us or talk about things that you want to talk about, follow us on Twitter at Apathusiast. I am at Jogomino. He is at Barnyard Cruise. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/Apathetic Enthusiasm Show. Email us, apatheticenthusiasmshow@gmail.com. Or Instagram, great place to converse, to look at photographs, apathetic_enthusiasm. You can also find us on the web, apatheticenthusiasm.com. That's where you can find all of our podcasts, including our no longer supported podcasts, our podcasts that have moved on to greener pastures.
Our podcast graveyards.
That's right. We are currently streaming live on twitch.tv/apathetic enthusiasm. Come hang out, follow us over there, and be part of the show. Or you can catch it later at youtube.com/apathetic enthusiasm. See what we look like. Understand the micro expressions that we make as we discuss things and talk about, important things. Anyway, you can buy our love at TeePublic. If you go to apatheticenthusiasm.com/shop, you can get to a curated collection of t-shirts or support the show directly at patreon.com/apathetic enthusiasm. Thank you to all of the new patrons over at patreon.com who are just, hooking it up, helping us out. Yeah. You guys are awesome.
I don't know why they do it. I don't know why. I would never give me money.
Yeah. I've thought about,
I think technically I owe you money.
Probably. I don't know.
For website hosting.
Oh shoot. Did that money get paid?
And that
welcome
is
to the welcome to the Financial Advice Podcast, Apathetic Enthusiasm. Pay your bills. All right. If you want to start a podcast, go to Blueberry. Use the code AEPOD to get, your first month at a discounted rate or something.
Sure,
just use the code. Use the code. Use the
code.
Code.
You get 2 months for free if you lose the code.
2 whole months. Oh my gosh.
That's right. Because here's the thing about podcasting. We know, because we talk all the time, that you have a voice. Each of us has a voice. We're all an expert in something. We all make somebody laugh, and somebody makes us laugh. So there is opportunity for you, even if it's a topic that there's already 6 billion episodes of a different podcast about. You have a voice. You have a unique insight that I don't have, that Travis doesn't have, only you have. So don't piss me off. Use the code AEPOD for 2 fucking months free. That's my rant.
Okay, and rant. One of my children came in. This is live streaming on the internet, just so you know. So you are on the internet right now. You will be. You will now be on YouTube. Yes.
I just cussed in front of your kid.
It's all right. It's all in the cans. It's all in the headphones.
Oh,
do you need something? Are you dying? Are you bleeding?
Just spoiler alert for the audio listener.
No blood.
There's no blood.
No blood.
It's a PG-13 recording here. Nope. Well, we have stuff
go to bed. Love you. See you later. Bye.
Oh gosh.
Sorry, that was directed toward my kid, not towards you, the listener. I do love you as well, listener. Brandon, we're still on the fence.
Yeah. I'll put a marker there just in case I want to edit that out later. Yeah. Well, so we have a good show for you. Well, we have a show.
I mean, there is a show that will happen, and you can tell that based on how long this podcast is. But whether it's good or not, let's reassess towards the end. Let's come back,
Okay.
and then we'll be like, yeah, that was a good show, or we'll be like, that was an episode of Apathetic Enthusiasm.
Self introspection.
That's right.
I guess is there not a self introspection? Because it
like peer introspection.
Yeah, is there peer introspection? Well, I guess that'd be like, I don't know. Can we?
Is that outrospection?
If we can get some specialists on the show to talk about that. Actually, that reminds me, over on LinkedIn, because I'm on LinkedIn more lately, I got
Brandon's job hunting, guys.
I got an invite from a publicist, like, hey, my client is a psychologist, blah, 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 and would love to be in your podcast. And then I was like, one, flattered. Two, I don't know if they know what my podcasts are about. I don't know if this doctor who I looked at his LinkedIn profile, very, very talented and distinguished. I don't know if he wants to come on and talk about Rick and Morty or not. It wasn't
We
specified.
should have him on this podcast.
We could.
This could be the next Joe Rogan experience. Just imagine 10 years from now when we're having to make apology videos for not doing our research and and for the potentially hazardous things that we've said in the past.
Yeah, that's true. Very, very damning things that we are honestly every day I'm ashamed about. I'm ashamed that I cussed not more than 5 minutes ago.
All right. but if we get Spotify money, I mean,
I think you get paid per F word.
Yeah, it's part of the contract. All right, yeah. I don't even know what we're talking about. Yeah, getting specialists on the show. I think it'd be fun to have some guests on the show, just to get some other voices on here, and keep the conversation moving. But until then, because there's nobody here now, let's talk about some recent topics, some recent things in the news, on the webs, in the theaters. Do you want to start with a major, lengthy motion picture hitting theaters this week? None other than the Dark Knight himself, the world's greatest detective.
That's right.
It is
Sauron.
The Batman.
I watched all of the Lord of the Rings, the extended editions.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. Is
that why you haven't been messaging me as often? Is because you've been watching Peter Jackson's director's cuts?
So the 10-year-old had not seen Lord of the Rings, and he knew who Gollum was. He was aware of things, and I forget how we totally got into it, but it was like, oh, you haven't seen Lord of the Rings? He said, no, I haven't seen Lord of the Rings. I'm like, okay, well, let's watch it. And then over on HBO Max, they have Lord of the Rings. They have the extended edition of the trilogy. And I thought, man, I didn't really feel like I wanted to watch the extended editions, but I feel like if I'm going to, now is the time to do it.
Sure.
And over the course of a week and a half, 2 weeks,
you got through episode 1.
we finished the first Fellowship of the Ring, and we made it through all of them. And let me tell you, I don't know what they added to the movies. I don't know. I don't know what was changed or what enhancements there were. I think there's maybe some more exposition in there, probably.
Sure. Yeah.
To explain kind of some characters, side characters, and what have you. But even though the movies were like 3.5 hours, almost 4 hours long, sometimes it didn't always feel that way. And I think it's because we broke them up, and we watched an hour and a half here, get to a point, then stop, and then come back. Because if we'd done it in one sitting, we would probably be dead.
Yeah, I mean, they are lengthy. I think I watched Fellowship, the extended cut, on HBO one day, just like on a whim. I threw it on. I probably didn't finish it, but I probably watched a good portion of it. And I think it was in part to show one or a few of my kids, like, oh yeah, this is like good movies and stuff. They didn't make it. They didn't make it through the whole, they threw the whole movie. Though most of my kids are. Go ahead.
How long ago? How long ago was that? I guess. Sorry, I interrupted you, but
No, it was within the last year.
okay.
But like my kids are notorious for not having the attention span for a full movie. So I mean, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but mostly they don't.
Yeah,
it's that YouTube, man. It's that YouTube. YouTube.com/apathetic enthusiasm. Go out there, subscribe.
I know. Like and subscribe. I think my kid liked it because we've been playing D&D, and he, I finally got him to play D&D, and what is Lord of the Rings if not basically D&D? Well, it is the original live action D&D. Like,
I mean, really, like D&D is kind of just like, interactive Lord of the Rings. I mean, which came first? Lord of the Rings did. Like, I mean, it's not a question.
Yeah,
credit where credit's due. So yeah.
But
anyway, I like how I introed Batman and we talked about a 20-year-old movie. But yeah, Lord of the Rings. If you haven't checked it out, available HBO Max.
HBO Max. But over on HBO Max, you will eventually see the Batman, the Matt Reeves directed film.
Yeah.
It is not there yet.
One day. One can only hope.
I think it's a 45-day window that HBO Max has until it can leave the theaters and go on to HBO Max. I think that's something that's out there nowadays.
As much as I love waiting 45 days, I feel like this is a movie that would be better experienced in a theater. Am I incorrect?
I don't know. Well, my friend Sean, he said that he saw it on IMAX at like a midnight showing, and it was chef's kiss for him. It was just so good. I saw the film yesterday morning, not in IMAX, on Sunday at like 10:30 in the morning, and it was just a regular theater. And I thought it was good. I don't know if I should be more of a cinephile when it comes to this, like wanting to see things in a theater. But I don't necessarily know that this was a movie that had to be seen in that. Like maybe like a Doctor Strange, like where there is or Spider-Man, maybe that. But I don't know if this needed to be. But I could see how.
Is it not an effects larger than life cinematic tour de force? Is it not? Is it not? Or is there just like a lot of brooding and my parents were killed. There's weirdly characteristic villains that I have to fight, and this girl's really into leather. Oh, by the way, I haven't seen the Batman yet. Brandon has. If that hasn't been abundantly clear based on how we've been talking about the movie so far.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say. It's great in the theater. It'll probably be good on HBO Max too, sure, at home. But I couldn't wait. I needed to see it. I wanted to see it when the Batman was announced, and I found out that Matt Reeves was the one directing it. Who he's directed some good stuff. Let Me In, the Planet of the Apes sequels, Cloverfield. He's been around, and I like his stuff. So I was excited about it. And then I was also excited to hear that this was a take that was a more noirish take, a detective story, if you will. And that super appealed to me because the one thing in my mind that was always missing from a Batman movie was the greatest detective in the world.
Yeah.
That was the thing that was missing from the Batman. We didn't really see him being a detective.
There's like subtle hints in some of the other Batmans, but it's not. I don't know. That's always really been his superpower, right? That and ridiculous amounts of money, but Yeah, it's that ability to be 10 steps ahead, to be very analytical, think things through, and also take a punch. But yeah,
yeah. And so this movie, I'll basically boil it down, and I think anybody who's seen the movie can attest that this is basically Batman meets Seven, the movie Seven, the David Fincher film.
okay.
Who David Fincher also directed Zodiac, and Social Network, which makes sense why there's a lot of Facebook references in the Batman. Uh, but no, like I think it matches that tone pretty on the nose. And I think on Twitter people have said like there's some like shot for shot references to Seven, and that's not a bad thing. Honestly, it was very, very good. I again, I watched it yesterday. It's about a 3-hour movie. Watched it in the morning. I left it going, I liked it, but did I love it? And the more I've thought about it, the more I've thought about some of the scenes, and I won't go into the scenes because we're not going to spoiler territory. But the way the film was shot, the way the character of Batman is, and how Bruce Wayne is a part of the character, but is a much smaller part of the movie. I don't. I'm trying to word it so where I'll say there's not a whole lot of spoilers when it comes to movies.
Sure.
Now, the Riddler is in there, and so like telling you the answers for some of the riddles and some of the puzzles and how that progresses the plot, that would be giving things away.
Sure.
But as far as it is, Bruce Wayne is basically all of Batman. It is Batman. It's not like a playboy Bruce Wayne. He's very dark and brooding. He doesn't really separate himself from Batman too much, even when he's Bruce Wayne. And that is part of the growth of the character throughout the movie, which I really, really dug. The Riddler, he's creepy as all shit.
Wearing a giant green suit and doing Jim Carrey moves throughout.
Yeah. When Tommy Lee shows up out of nowhere, like, whoa, okay, I know what's going on now.
All right, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I've been kissed by a rose on the grave.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I wasn't. I consider myself a Batman fan. I'm not like a huge DC person in general. I think a lot of the DC films have sort of there've been some great ones, but films wise, like I'm not as much of a super fan as I am with the Marvel films, but the Batman films I've always still been interested in and really enjoyed because I just really like Batman as a character. So I was excited that this was coming out, but not enough to like ensure I had tickets opening weekend. Excited, and really that 3-hour time stamp that isn't even really like the deterring factor for me. I'll go watch a 3-hour movie. I'm not scared. Okay, and anybody that says I'm scared is lying. Okay. So yeah, it's just I don't know. I was busy this weekend, and I'll probably be busy next weekend too. Maybe I'll sneak in some time to see it. But if 45 days goes by, you better believe I will be watching this on HBO Max. So yeah.
Philip in the chat says a couple things, and I'll one of them relating to the 3-hour runtime. Thought it was pretty, sounded good, was a boring movie. So I'll talk about that point first. Like the 3-hour runtime, I will agree with some of the critics and some folks saying it didn't need to be 3 hours. I thought that there could have been some stuff significantly moved to cut down the runtime.
Sure.
There are movies that are 3 hours that don't feel 3 hours.
Like the Rings.
Like that one movie on Netflix with Robert De Niro. It's like not The Iceman, but
The Irishman.
Yeah, The Irishman.
Yeah.
Like that felt like that's a different Hitman movie.
Yeah.
with Zod, the guy who plays Zod. But this one did feel at times where like, okay, okay, go ahead and progress things a little bit faster. And there was times where I thought the movie was about to end, and then it didn't end. I was like, oh, there's more. So I think that's part of it too. Was there was kind of like this. It felt like a climax, and then it went down, but then it went down too far, and then I was like, oh no, now there's still more left to get after. So I think in that way it felt a little bit boring. There were some shots that kind of lingered on a little bit too long to get this kind of brooding atmosphere. So yeah, I can empathize when people say it was boring. The thing he says, the second part, is that Robert Pattinson was a terrible Bruce Wayne. I don't disagree, but I don't agree. And that's a weird thing to say, in the sense that he was a bad Bruce Wayne because he's not the Bruce Wayne that yet, because this movie takes place in year 2 of him being Batman.
Okay.
And as Bruce Wayne, he's still kind of a brooding, like vengeance driven kind of person.
Yeah.
He doesn't figure out in the beginning of the movie till later that he needs to be more than just Batman, and that he has to use his ability, his privilege as Bruce Wayne, to affect the change he's shooting for in Gotham too. So the majority of the movie, yes, he is a shitty Bruce Wayne because he's not the Bruce Wayne that we expect as a much more mature person.
Interesting. Okay. I wish I'd done any research before this episode, because we've had like what, 10 Batman movies now or something. Like there's a lot. Let's name them all. Batman
1989.
Where would you sort of rank this movie in your, overall mega rankings of Batman films? And I will forward you. I don't need a number, but like, where would you kind of what movies would you kind of place it between?
Oh, well, I think I would put it in top 3.
Okay. Wow. All right.
And in the top
Any
3
recency
is
bias on that, or
I potentially, I would go see it again in the theater.
all right,
because
High
the only other Batman movie I saw twice in the theater was The Dark Knight, which is also my top 3.
Sure.
And if I was old enough, I would have seen Batman 89 in the theater more than once, because I watch it all the time anyway. So I would put those kind of in my top 3. I will say that I saw it on Twitter, and I kind of agree with this notion that this is, and Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, but that's an animated movie. So if we're not counting animated, then those 3 are in my top 3.
It certainly wasn't one I was planning to count, but sure. Where's the Killing Joke then in that case?
Oh, fuck the Killing Joke. Yeah, I know people who like that one. I'm like, and you and I just disliked it immensely.
Comic better than
the
animated version for sure. Okay.
The reason I will say what I was saying about on Twitter is people have said that this is a Batman movie.
Okay.
In the sense that it's not about any of the other characters. It is about the Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Riddler's in there, sure, but they're not taking the focus. Like, it is all Robert Pattinson. It is all Batman, and about him growing, probably more than any other movie. Even The Dark Knight, love The Dark Knight, but that movie was less about Batman, and it was about Two-Face, and it was about the Joker. Like, the emphasis was on those characters, and it felt like those movies were more Bruce Wayne movies than they were Batman movies. and maybe it's because I didn't really like Christian Bale as a Batman.
Okay.
But a Bruce Wayne, he was awesome.
Why not? I'm right here.
We must have friends.
That jacked up my throat.
It hurts. It hurts.
No more Christian Bale Batman impressions on this podcast. That's a new policy around here. Okay, well, so top 3. That's pretty high praise.
Yeah.
I gotta go see it. That's all there is to it. Philip Marks also putting it funny enough in his top 3 as well.
Yeah.
So I have to check it out. I'm excited to see it.
So I have to ask you, Travis, without having seen the movie, obviously, what are your which movies would be in your top 3, or just top 2? Like, which ones come to mind as your favorite Batman movies?
I do in fact like some of the Christian Bale Batman movies. What was it? Was it The Dark Knight with Joker and
Yep.
That's I like that one a lot. Growing up, I did really enjoy like the Burton, Batman '89. The Riddler when it was Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones. I wouldn't put that like up in my tops, but that just had,
I enjoy it.
I enjoy the movie. I do. Once it went to like, but Val Kilmer was still all right, but by the time we got to George Clooney, I was like, all right, come on, like what are we doing? So, but I honestly feel like Batfleck didn't get a fair shake, right? I feel like he could have done something interesting as an older sort of, more experienced and aging Batman that we just really didn't get to see. So yeah, I don't know.
I agree with that about Batfleck. It's not that I don't think that he was a bad Batman or a Bruce Wayne. Honestly, I liked that incarnation of him because it felt more comic-y. Of all the versions of him, that felt the most comic booky. And that character had to fit in with metahumans or like
exactly.
Superman, Wonder Woman. So it had to be more fantastical. I think what people have said is, that Batman was built for these compilations. That's not the right word, but like a menagerie of different superheroes that be part of a
the
group.
ensemble.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so in that way, it didn't really give him a fair shake. But we're not done seeing him. We will see him again in The Flash, which premieres this year. We'll also see
Ben Affleck will return as Batman in The Flash.
And Michael Keaton is in The Flash as well. So
wow. All right. Throwback. Finally getting Vulture in there. That's good.
finally getting Vulture. Married to the Mob.
Yeah. What was the movie that
Multiplicity?
No, what's the one that they did where it was supposed to look like a single take?
Birdman.
Birdman. Yeah, he needs to reprise his role as Birdman in The Flash. That's what we all need to see.
Good idea.
All right, let's move on a little bit from Batman, but not completely step away from the DC universe. There is a series that has gotten a lot of attention over on HBO Max. You've recently watched it. The intro sequence is something special to behold. Of course, I'm talking about Peacemaker. I am not as far into the series as you are. Did you actually complete the series, or?
I did complete the series. I want to do a quick aside because I thought this was going to be the worst segue into West Side Story that I had ever heard.
You didn't know that West Side Story is originally a DC property and it was adapted for the stage in the 50s.
Super.
Jet. Yeah.
Wonder Woman's invisible jets.
Yeah, it's Harley Quinn dancing around. I feel pretty, oh so pretty. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Peacemaker.
I
You
have
love
watched
it? You hate it?
I loved it. I loved it. Peacemaker, out there on HBO Max. It is a spin-off of the Suicide Squad, James Gunn's sequel, kind of quasi sequel, requel. Uh, and yeah, and then James Gunn wrote the series. He directed quite a few of the episodes, and it takes place about John Cena's Peacemaker character who survives the events of the Suicide Squad. It took me a while to watch an episode of Peacemaker. Because I'll be honest, after I watched Suicide Squad, I don't give a shit about this character. Why would I want to see an episode about this character, right? And then I just started hearing just about how good it was and about it's funny and like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I watched the first episode with my wife and son, and then they're like, "We're not going to watch this show with you anymore."
We're out
for reasons, mostly John Cena's weird bare ass, and so they went to her parents' house, not because of the show, just because
they're like, you wanted to watch Peacemaker? I'm staying with my parents.
and I binge watched it that night, and I watched all episodes, and it got better. It got so much better, and I'll talk a little bit more about the character as we talk about it. But what did you think about it? Were you hesitant to get into the show, or?
I'll be honest. For the same reason you were, in terms of like not necessarily watching Suicide Squad and then being like, oh, I really want to see a Peacemaker series. Like this is the character that really stood out to me as somebody that I want to follow in an episodic journey, right? I really didn't have a desire to be like watching that. But I had people I worked with and things that were like, wow, Peacemaker's really good. Started seeing some more buzz, some chatter on social media and things like that. And I was like, all right, maybe I'll give it a chance. Like a lot of people who seem to like some of the same things I'm into, I'll check it out. The problem was I was heavily invested in a 4-season binge of the show Yellowstone with my wife. So I was way too busy following the antics of Kevin Costner and his mob of unruly family members up in the Montana Valley, making the rules and knocking out anybody that gets in their way. So that's why I hadn't watched it, is because almost any free night it was my significant other being like, so we're gonna watch more Yellowstone? Huh? Are we gonna She likes to commit. She loves to commit to a show. So Peacemaker is the first thing I started watching, because by the way, she has no interest in watching Peacemaker. So and her family lives way too far away for her to go stay with them, for the weekend, so I can watch Peacemaker. So I will be watching it intermittently on my own. Whenever we're done with this episode or something,
sure.
Maybe I'll go watch it. So thanks for listening, everybody. No, just kidding.
Well, so you've watched 2 episodes now.
No, I was gonna watch a second episode, but I ended up helping with homework instead.
Oh, okay. So you've only watched the first episode.
Yes.
What did you think of the first episode?
Really bad relationship with Dad.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how well they can make you empathize for a character that was essentially like a villain in the source material, right? In Suicide Squad, he was not a likable guy and ended up kind of going toe to toe with some of the main characters and things like that. So I didn't expect to really feel for this character, but then you see he basically walks away from jail, and is brought right back into this sort of Suicide Squad scenario, but to a lesser degree. And you realize that his life isn't that great, and he doesn't have, much to really go home to. So even though he's not a great guy, he's got some serious flaws. He seems pretty genuine in some of the early scenes, and so I'm curious to see where it goes. There's definitely an overarching bigger story that they start to hint at, but they don't really fully let you in on in the first episode. So I'm curious to see what that is with the organization behind the scenes pulling what's her name, the lady that blows them up if they step out of line.
Yeah, I forget. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her. So and apparently her daughter,
Viola Davis. Yeah.
Yes.
Waller, Amanda Waller. There you go.
Yeah, it only took us a little bit of time, but we would get there. I knew if we let it sit and stew. So
Yeah.
I'll be checking it out. I'm interested in it. Honestly, if anything else, it just gets me hyped for Guardians 3 because I want some James Gunn making some sweet Guardians Guardians
hilarity
films. And I just, I don't know. It's gonna be good. So anyway.
as you make your way through the series, what's interesting is going back to think about the Suicide Squad and how really it's hard to want to forgive that character for the things he does in that movie.
Absolutely.
Where can he come back? And then I think in the post credits, it's like shows him like that he's alive, right? And basically, as soon as the Suicide Squad was released, they also said, "Hey, there's gonna be a Peacemaker show," and it was instantly like, "Why? No, why would I? Why do I want to see this asshole get his own show?"
Yeah.
And there was an interview with James Gunn, and it was after the conclusion of the season of Peacemaker, and he was talking about the moment that he decided that he wanted to make a show about the Peacemaker, and it was because John Cena, who's this kind of goofy wrestler dude, a goofy guy, there was a scene that they were shooting, and he was like, it was a close up on John Cena's face, and there was something in his eyes. There was something in his eyes. There was a sadness. There was something deeper there that was beyond just what the character was showing. And so this caricature turned into something more.
Yeah.
And that's so as you make your way through the season of Peacemaker, like there were times where I'm like, oh my God, this poor guy, this poor bat, like it's shitty. It's shitty. And it was a good season. And I look forward to season 2, which will come out eventually, of the show.
Yeah. All right. I'll give it the old college try. I'll definitely that'll be the show I watch on my own for a little bit, and hopefully get through pretty quickly.
And one last thing on the show before I let you get into it, because this is talking about dancing, Travis. I'm lobbing this up in your air, talking about dancing. The choreography was assisted by the great Alan Tudyk. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, all right.
The intro dancing, and we all know how much you love dancing, don't we, Travis?
So much dancing. I'm such a dancer. I am not necessarily much of a dancer, but I do enjoy the occasional musical theater, especially with my theater kids, and and a good Steven Spielberg movie is always on the menu for me. Probably one of my favorite directors, just because of all the different things he's done and the legacy he's had in film. So when you slap those things together and you call it West Side Story, this was a movie that came out around the holidays. It was something I wanted to see. Unfortunately, it was also during peak Omicron season, which made it a little bit harder to get out to the theaters to see it. But I was very curious about sort of how Steven Spielberg what his take would be on this movie, how he would. I mean, I don't consider myself like a huge West Side Story fan traditionally, but I was interested. I wanted to see, what he did with it, and the fact that it's got just a fat stack of Oscar nods. Also interested me in seeing some of the performances and seeing how it would go. So this week, lucky us, it's available streaming on Disney Plus now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just ahead of the Oscars. So I figured, as is tradition, as is one of the things that I attempt to do and always fail at, it is trying to see as many Best Picture nominees as possible ahead of the Oscars that year. So West Side Story is on that list, and I did check it out this weekend. And I gotta say, it's pretty good. It was interesting to watch it with some of my family who did not know initially that this is based on the story of Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
I happen to like the retelling of some of those old Shakespearean plays and stuff in fun new formats, and so fun new formats where gangs kill each other and go to dances in the 50s and have racism towards Puerto Ricans, like all the fun things that you like to see in a theater. So I don't know, there's some great performances in it. I think it's really good. The cinematography in it's great. There's some amazing sequences throughout. I mean, of dancing. Yeah, it is of dancing at times. But there's I don't know, he did a really good job shooting this movie and directing it, and some of the performances are great. So
I saw a clip of a scene where whoever the characters are, they're walking into a building, and it's a one shot of like them going into the building, going into a dance floor where all these people are dancing, and the camera's just zooming around in and out of people dancing, and it's like, that's a pretty badass. How complicated is that shot? How there's so many things that could go wrong, and there's so many moving parts that could go wrong in that, and to execute that is just genius. So, and I haven't seen the entire movie, but just that alone, and me, I'm not a big musical theater / musical / dancing kind of guy.
Sure.
But that makes me want to see it because I appreciate it. I appreciate the artistry that goes into that.
Yeah, that's the perspective I think I had with it as well. I mean, there's some really great performances in it as well. Ansel Elgort, who I think really became popular in like The Fault in Our Stars and some of those other teen dramas. I think he was in what was it? It was the series that wasn't Hunger Games, but it was the other series with like Shailene Woodley.
Is that the Labyrinth games or
the Maze Runner? No, not the Maze Runner. Anyway, he's in a few of those movies, I think. But that actually, he may not be in that movie. No, he is in that movie. He's the brother in that movie. Anyway, I've seen him in a lot of things, but I've never heard him sing. And when he starts singing in this movie, like everybody in my living room was like, "Oh, he's got some pipes. Like he can. This guy can sing." So anyway, it's great performances. It's not a movie that like ends on a happy note, which again is
Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet. So anyway, it's worth a watch if you have a Disney Plus subscription. I would say at least check it out. It is another longer movie, like 2.5 hours or something like that. Almost 3. It's not quite the Batman, but it is one of 10 Best Picture nominees coming up in the Academy Awards, the 94th Academy Awards, actually, which will be televised March 27th, 2022. That's right. They're getting back together out there in Los Angeles, Hollywood, California. There are some new categories for the Academy Awards. So I think there's a fan favorite category with Spider-Man No Way Home being the projected favorite for a fan favorite category, which means we could see, a Marvel film, get the get a potential Oscar win, even though box office doesn't always relate.
Yeah.
So
What else
there's
is on? What else is on there?
so Oscars fan favorite. So the contest was announced. The 5 finalists for Oscars cheer moment, which includes Avengers Assemble, Avengers Endgame, something like this. It doesn't make sense. Like, okay, I have to read more about this because I don't know if this is an actual Academy Award. I think this might just be
like a fan made thing on a Twitter account.
So February 28th, the Academy revealed that 4 of the films that made the leaderboard, along with 5 new contenders for this award. Yeah. To tie in with the ceremony's theme of Movie Lovers Unite, the Academy teamed up with Twitter to host Oscars Fan Favorite Contest, where they can vote for their favorite film of the year and their favorite movie moment. So I guess their favorite film of the year would be No Way Home, but then their favorite movie moments are different moments from
I see
past films. So like Neo dodging bullets in The Matrix is one. The Spider-Man
but they're not getting awards for it. They're not getting actual statues. They're just being like, "Hey, we recognize that fans like those moments in that movie. Good job. We'll give you a we'll give you a kudos."
So this contest has drawn mixed to negative reaction, with some critics viewing it as a variation of the proposed Academy Award for Best Popular Film, and others viewing it as a forced and rigged consolation prize to recognize Spider-Man No Way Home and its box office performance. So there you go. Anyway, The Oscars are coming up. If you've been a long-time listener of this podcast, you know that we have Oscar specials pretty much every year. So expect after March 27th for our full recap where I talk about the actual Academy Awards, and then I quiz Brandon about things that did or did not actually happen. Maybe he'll watch it. Maybe you don't. Maybe it'll be a Bones year. Maybe it'll be a no Bones year. So we'll see. Do you get that reference? Bones and no bones?
No.
Are you so off TikTok that you don't even get that reference?
I don't get that reference. No.
Okay, we'll talk about it in the post show. But tune in next month as we talk about all things Oscars. It'll probably be at the end of the month. And let us know what Oscar Best Picture films you've seen, you haven't seen. Have you seen the list, Brandon? Are you even knowing?
I know nothing. I know nothing about what's happening.
So out the loop, kids. All right, I am gonna read them off in order.
Okay. All right.
And I want you to tell me if you've seen any of these.
No.
I know you've seen some of them.
Oh.
Nightmare Alley.
No, I'm not.
With Bradley Cooper, Guillermo del Toro, J. Miles Day. Don't Look Up.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Dune.
Seen it. Okay.
Yeah. Drive My Car.
No.
Belfast.
No.
Licorice Pizza.
I've heard of it. I've not seen it.
Okay. The Power of the Dog.
That's on Netflix.
Yeah, available. You can watch it right now.
That's right.
Get ahead. West Side Story.
Really?
No, you haven't seen West Side Story. King Richard. You've seen King Richard?
No, I have not. Did we talk about? We talked about.
Yeah, I like that movie. Will Smith.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Coda, which is available on Apple TV Plus.
Okay.
So interesting year for Academy Awards. A lot of these movies were available in people's homes at the same time they're available in theaters. So I'm curious to see how that affects the results, or if it affects the results. But
well, it's unfortunate. There's 2 movies that I didn't hear that are on that list that I watched recently. The first movie is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the requel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is on Netflix. Let me get to that.
Explain that.
Which is on Netflix. And you can watch it right now if you're so inclined. It takes place in the present, and it is a continuation of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now,
So how is that not a sequel then?
it was okay because it's not a sequel. It is a sequel, but it's also a remake. It's a remake sequel. It's a requel.
Requel. Okay.
Oh, I'll get into this, but I feel like if you want to actually get into it, you should watch Scream 5 because Scream 5 talks about requels at length, which is another movie that I watched recently.
Is that the one that recently came out in theaters?
That is the one that recently came out in theaters. I rented it because it's video on demand now, and so you can check it out.
Yeah, I would watch Scream 5. I would watch that one. Yeah.
So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I think the things with Scream movies for me is I get excited because people are like, "Oh, new Scream movie! Oh, it's so good!" And I watch it, and then the first time I watch it, I'm like, "That wasn't that. I mean, it was okay." And then I watch them again. I'm like, "Oh, it was good. Yeah, it was good." It's the expectation management.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like anything with the number 5 at the end of the title, I can't expect much more than it's good.
Yeah. Scream 5 was I mean, it was just titled Scream.
Yeah.
But so Scream 5 is not a requel, but they talk about requels in it. And we all know Scream is a very meta series. So but anyways, yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre because this Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a continuation of the original. But there were sequels to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, 3, The Next Generation. Then there was a remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Jessica Biel.
The college years. And then Goes to Miami.
I was just about to say that. Where Screech has a Leatherface mask on.
Perfect.
Or similarly, Halloween. So the Halloween originally in '79 came out, and then they had sequels to it, and then Rob Zombie came out with his remake of Halloween, and then made a sequel to his remake of Halloween. But then Danny McBride and those folks came out, and they made a requel, which is a remake sequel to the original Halloween, which go ahead and cuts all the other sequels that have existed out of the picture and just means that 79 Danny McBride's version and then a sequel to that, so it's like weird alternate versions. So it's pretty good.
You can do it if anything kind of allows that flexibility, sort of like you would have in comics where you can just kind of go off and take the stories in your directions. Horror movies seem like the perfect genre to be able to just take a new spin on something, because
that's right,
they're not always the most story driven. I mean, they can be, but sometimes they're more about the visceral experience. So, yeah.
And speaking of visceral experience, I just want to shout out one last movie before we go, Travis, and it is the 1922 film by Murnau, F.W. Murnau. It is Nosferatu, 100th year anniversary of Nosferatu.
Is it available streaming as what do you call it? Not open source, but what's it called?
Yeah, public domain.
Public domain. Yeah. Does that mean you can watch it? Public domain.
Don't actually.
Is there a Nosferatu public domain film?
I don't actually know if it is.
I'm just saying the primaries are coming up. We may need an election night movie to watch.
Where to? Yeah, you're right. I do need to keep that tradition going on. Where to watch Nosferatu? Nosferatu's Vampire. Oh, you can watch it on Amazon Prime. You can watch it on iTunes. You can rent it. It feels like it should be public domain at this point in time.
Feels like it should.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll do that research. We'll get right back to you guys. But I think that is going to wrap up this episode.
Hoopla, Canopy, AMC Plus.
I think there's a Blockbuster Video in one state somewhere that you can still watch things from.
Yeah. Sam Goody.
Remember when you'd walk into a Best Buy and it'd be filled with like CDs?
I know.
Like the front half of the store was all CDs.
It's weird.
Man,
it's weird to think
we're
that
old.
that's not.
How old are we?
So now we've gone through it to where now it's again records that are
Yeah, that's right. It's true. Everything old is new again. All right. And I think that's it. That's the show. Thanks for listening. We love you guys. And as promised at the beginning of the show, how do you feel, Brandon? Was it a good show? Was it a good episode?
I thought it was good. I didn't think it was because you hadn't seen Batman and I didn't see West Side Story. I didn't think it was going to be that good at all, to be honest with you.
I think it was great. It was fun. So let us know what you guys thought. Hit us up on Twitter. Send us a message. And until next time, I'm Travis.
And I'm Brandon. Goodie bye. Sam, goodie bye.
Sam, goodie bye.